This is the Nio ET7, an all-new electric sedan. They are considered somewhat like the Chinese Tesla, but are they actually better than the original? And Nio also wants to attack the European, to be concise, the German market. Here today, can they succeed? How good is this EV? We'll find out together with Thomas on Autogefühl for you. Let's go. Nio is already offering different models. This one, the ET7, would be corresponding to the Tesla Model S. However, it is lower in price compared to Mercedes EQE, for example. 70,000 euros is the entry price, and with the smaller battery. We'll talk about the battery sizes very soon, and also if it has a frunk or not. Slim integration of the daytime running lights. I also have this welcoming and goodbye function when you open or close the vehicle. That looks pretty amazing. Main headlamps in the lower part. And this car is already capable of so much more, actually, like on the top, the cameras at the sides and the LiDAR, the laser sensor, already capable of, let's say, like level 4, fully autonomous driving, even though it's not allowed yet, but it's actually then more future-proof. The logo, by the way, reminds me a little bit of Citroën, doesn't it? Just that you have this round head at the top step. So, what do you think? What is your first impression?
Well, is there a frunk? No, there is not. So just a cover here. The only thing you can do here is put in some wiper fluid.
Yeah, well, I guess they also wanted to be European in this respect. You know, the German manufacturers, when they do the EVs, they usually do not include frunks, whereas the other manufacturers, like also Tesla, the US guys, or Korean EVs and so on, they always have frunks in the front. And usually EV customers do appreciate having a frunk. Contrasting to white, there would be the deep black vehicle. So black is of course always the color that is picked very frequently. However, I think in the brighter color it serves the car a little bit better, doesn't it? What's your opinion? Well, my impression is it looks actually pretty cool. And isn't it kind of weird that a Chinese manufacturer designs a car that more appeals to a European market, whereas, for example, Mercedes with the EQS designs a vehicle that is more appealing to the Chinese market design-wise? Yeah, I don't know. What do you think? 5 meters and 10 or 201 inches is the length here, so a full-size sedan indeed. The Lucid Air would be another competitor, and yeah, of course the Mercedes EQS and the Tesla Model S, for example. And soon, of course, also the BMW i7. However, that one price was again a little bit higher. Yeah, and Mercedes EQE would be more price-wise, EQS more lengthwise, so somewhat in between then. Wheels here, 20 or 21 inch. These here are the 20-inch wheels, also more closed aerodynamic design. And they also use a lot of European suppliers, Continental for example, and also here Brembo. These are the Brembo brakes. You can also see them with the contrasting calipers. And more cameras here as well, and the very aerodynamic design also. So a very stretched, beautiful design indeed. Flush door handles, at the moment they're out. Soon going in detail about that. Let's finish the exterior. The very clean and consistent design continues here at the rear, so I think they really nailed the design game here indeed with this beautiful integration of the light strip. And also the turning indicators look quite cool. They're not cascading, but look very nice both in the rear and also in the front. Top speed, by the way, 200 kilometers an hour or 125 miles an hour. Of course, I will hit the German Autobahn for you here once again today, and we'll test that high speed. And the acceleration figure is actually 3.8 seconds, so under 4 seconds to 1 kilometers or 62 miles an hour with an all-wheel drive. So one electric motor in the rear, that's the stronger one, and one electric motor in the front. What about batteries and range? 3 sizes available here for the ET7, 75 kilowatt hours, 100 or 150 later, even as solid state. Very interesting. Today testing the 100 kilowatt hours battery, so range approximately 500 kilometers or 300 miles in real world conditions. First estimate, we'll do a test ride and then recheck this figure definitely. And the recharging is even more interesting because they also offer a battery swap.
So the charging flap is here on the driver's side, and you have AC and DC charging. DC peak is 130 kilowatt only. By the way, you can close it here again, or it also automatically closes again when you start driving.
Well, and the thing is then that you need 30 minutes for the small battery and even 40 minutes for the 100 kilowatt hour battery from 10 to 80% state of charge. That is not segment leading at all. That's rather quite bad. Well, but they thought, we don't focus on fast charging, we focus on the battery swap, and they literally really put out the existing battery just in a couple of minutes and put in another one that is already charged. The question is, of course, can they keep up this infrastructure? Can they actually build it up? Actually, does it make sense? Is it a business model for them? Can they actually pay for that? So really a lot of questions are left as for this one, but I think it's a very interesting idea to do that. They literally unscrew that from the lower part and a new one gets put in. And there are also questions arising like, okay, when I took care of my battery very well all the time, then I'm getting another one. How was that one treated? They say they want to keep up a certain quality level. They guarantee that, so the customers don't have to care about that. The question is, would you swap it for another battery or would you not? That is very interesting thought. My estimation is, I think it's a great idea that at a later stage you can, for example, swap it for a completely different battery with a better cell chemistry or with a different size, for example. So you can keep your car up to date and the battery is not fully connected to the car and you can always upgrade. But for, let's say, regular charging the vehicle by that, I'm not sure if they can build up a sufficient infrastructure and if it really can be a long-term business model and people won't rather rely on a normal charging. What's your take on that?
It's one of two that are already existing in Germany and they really want to build a wide infrastructure of that. It will be very interesting if they can manage that. And here in this part here, they store at this moment up to like 10 to 13 batteries, 100 kilowatt hours, and they are charging them quite slowly, just up to 40 kilowatt. That is, very good for the longevity of the batteries. And then here the car actually parks in front of that building here, and then it's autonomously driving inside, and the battery is getting out of the vehicle. The new one is getting in the vehicle again, and they really unscrew and screw it once again with automatic screwers. So very impressive technology indeed. And I would like to know from you guys, can they succeed with that? They really want to, as I said, build a wide infrastructure with that. Alone, this will be quite tricky to do that. Maybe if some other manufacturers are joining them, and they say actually they want other manufacturers to join them, this will be very exciting in the future.
And also interesting is the pricing strategy. So a theoretical list price, which they had to register with the government, is about 70,000 euros for the European or German market specifically for the 75 kilowatt hour entry battery. However, this will not have a real effect because they go subscription model only, and for the 75 kilowatt hour battery is around 1,200 euros all inclusive, full service leasing, and for the model above that, maybe let's say like 1,500 or something. But I think it's a wrong decision to go only in this direction. Maybe offer it as an additional service, but going subscription only, and you can never really own and purchase the vehicle. So yeah, I think just doing this one offer won't be enough to capture a market. You have to go for full service leasing, maybe normal leasing, but also normal purchasing, because people want to have a choice in that respect. Or what do you think?
And checking here for panel gaps, this looks actually very good. Oh, yeah, and sometimes the car is opening or closing itself. I'm talking about that here, when you open the vehicle, there it is, the door handles come out. Let's see here, yeah, you can also have this horn effect. And so, and yeah, this actually is a very interesting thing, because have you seen that? So I just put my hand on the inside and then it already opens slightly here. So this is like a helping function, and this is then also here equipped with a soft close. Wow.
But even if there is soft touch, Autogefühl test does need to include the door closing sound. Let's slam it.
And bang. Whoa.
Let me try it again.
That sounded
really good. Well, it has some kind of a like modern, high quality, but also some kind of a vintage G-Class door closing sound, I would say. Or what's your take? And at the same time, we have frameless doors. So I've never seen a car with frameless doors with such good door closing sound. Here you can also see the dual insulation. Inside of the doors, this is like Mercedes uses this Neotex material, like a mix of microfiber and leatherette. So feels like a neoprene a little bit. Really nice in the touch and in the look. Below that, here, and then we'll also find in the middle console soon, this is like a sustainable rattan taken from the rainforest, because it grows and grows and grows and grows and grows. So this is then a renewable resource, so to speak, and feels and looks really awesome indeed. Some space here. It's like an emergency release for the door, because here this is the usual one from the inside, and this is electric. It always needs a manual release as well. Nio entry badge. I think this is still covered with some foil. Yeah, this is like a blue protection foil, because this is one of the very, very early vehicles, so you could also peel that off. Then the first look at the interior. Look at that. The steering wheel, yeah, it looks Citroën-like, doesn't it? With the logo and also the the style of the steering wheel, doesn't it? Then you do have digital gauges. That's of course better in the Model 3 or Model Y. So I really like to have digital gauges, 10.2 inch that is. And then you also have a vertical screen, soon more details to that. The only miss in this vehicle I find so far is here. These seats here are animal skin only. And in a supposed to be sustainable EV in 2022, no way they do that. By the way, also a bright interior styling is available. That once again, sadly, animal skin. But, oh hey, someone had it cozy right there, right? So as for the animal skin seating, they say they will not offer alternatives for the ET7. But for the next models after this one, they will also supply some alternatives, like a high-grade leatherette, for example. We'll see about that. And the seating position from the ergonomics, however, makes a quite good impression as the first hand. Here the front part, electronic enlengthenment of that, and I can also adjust height and so on, everything electronic. As for the steering wheel control, we can also adjust that electronically. Not here at the column. I think that's always an easier solution, but they also try to keep everything very clean. This is more this Tesla approach, and we'll also have a confirmation of that soon here in the screen. This will be super interesting. Headroom. Well, I'm 189 or 6'2", and at the side leaves some headroom, and here beneath the glass roof even more. Look at that glass roof. It is a fixed one, but a beautiful integration, also nice with a microfiber here. Yeah, I know visual proof is a thing, so that you're not fooled by me. Look at that here. So this is not a blue color here at the entry badge. This is this typical protection foil you also found at some electronics and so on. You can just peel it off, and then you'll find the real entry badge here. So yeah, there you can see cars here at Autogefühl are sometimes really, really fresh off the factory. And that's why then yeah. There we go. Now we have it how it really looks. So the best thing here in the cockpit is now if you join me in a POV, point of view. First of all, here 10.2 inch digital instruments, clear to read, and then 12.3 inch touchscreen. And here this is NOMI. This is a voice assistant and actually has some kind of, let's say, human machine interface. You can see here blinking eyes and so on. And hey NOMI.
Hello.
Play music.
Start playing for you.
That's interesting. Hey NOMI.
I am here.
Stop music.
Got it.
There we go. And it really moves, and it's kind of like spooky in a way, but it's also a cool and interesting idea, right? And it works very well, the voice assistant. And then on the steering wheel, you have these button fields. And the thing is, they are real buttons. So they give you haptic feedback. This here for cruise control, for example. And on the right side as well, so when you, for example, hold this one here longer, then you control here the, let's say like the daily averages and so on
So you have real buttons right there. At the same time, it's somewhat also digital interface. So that's actually quite cool. And then we also have that huge screen here. And wait a minute. Are we in a Tesla? So this one looks really Tesla copycat alike, doesn't it? And it's really an interesting phenomenon. So definitely a lot of Chinese companies have also really astonishing innovations. I mean, look at the NOMI assistant here. This is also something they thought of themselves, basically. However, here in the screen software, maybe that's a cultural thing. So, you know, when I was in China the first time a couple of years ago, they explained it to me in a way that when you copy something there, it's more like it's an honor that your stuff is getting copied because it's so good. When you more think about the Western philosophy, if you copy something, it's considered stealing, and protection of own property and also intellectual property is something that in the Western world is valued very, very highly. So maybe this is some kind of different cultural understanding. I mean, you can really start a very interesting discussion right there. Join me in the comments. Hey, Nomi.
I am here.
Is Nio better than Tesla?
I can't seem to find that place.
That's a diplomatic answer. And also to adjust the steering wheel. Hey, Nomi.
Hey,
Adjust the steering wheel.
please use the button on the steering wheel.
Now I can also adjust the mirror here, then in this case with the left buttons. Or then the right mirror here then with the right buttons. And of course, take a selfie.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, NOMI.
So let's take a detailed look at this infotainment system. Here is the map. The map data is supplied by here. It also has some 3D views, but no satellite view. And when you are putting in like a very distant destination, like here Barcelona, for example, from Berlin, that's like really long. Let's see how long does the routing take. And the thing is, it does not add automatic charging stops along the route. This is not possible yet, obviously. Here, see, they got no suggestions and so on. This is like where the battery is supposed to be depleted. However, the GPS does show charging stations nearby, so you know, that is actually possible. Then, if you want to go back to the, you see here, there's like a, you know, like this gesture takes you back always to the main screen. You can always have this main screen as well, or then here the vehicle setting. And this looks like super much Tesla-like, right? Here also how you can adjust the light, daytime running light, for example, or then here ambient lighting. You can seat adjustment, or also the climate control, so it always stays in low area. And this is like 100% Tesla. Chase like this, or also then with the NOMI assistant, of course, that is also possible. And fragrance, it also has some, you know, like scents if you like to have that. I rather keep them deactivated. You can also have different levels of that. Tap to set the or here like off again. For heated steering wheel or heated seats, you can also do it like this. We know that from Tesla as well. There's the heated steering wheel. And when I press here the hotkey in the lower part, then I can access the driving modes. I can also click them through. That is possible. Or here, and then it also shows that in the Sport Plus mode, I have this fastest acceleration. Otherwise, it is not as fast. And this is actually a cool function, because then you can drive a little bit more relaxed, and also the you know, the suspension and so on, everything adjusts according to that. Also the recuperation, we will test that in the driving modes. There's no special setting for recuperation with pedals or something, but here in the custom mode, actually, there you can change the ride height, you can change the regenerative braking, standard, low or very low. So this would be strong, this would be weaker. I will also test it while driving. And here you can pick your own acceleration figure. Now that is something, right? So yeah, this is live tuning of a vehicle now. So yeah, very interesting. You can really fine tune that. Why not? And this is something indeed you would do once and then it's actually fine. What about some basic functions here? For example, you see tire pressure, average consumption, projected range with about 80%, state of charge, the past consumption, and also here the battery status and so on. Nice visualization. So yes, it is Tesla copycat in this case, but it is well done actually as for the copycat function, and you get along with this system. You can pick most of the things once and the rest while driving, then you don't have to do that much actually. Rear view camera, and you also have this drone view from above. That looks actually quite good, nice resolution, and also, you know, the integration of the screen, how big the screen is. That's actually quite cool. And here when you switch to D, then you have the front view camera. One more thing to consider here, main menu, phone connection. No Apple CarPlay, no Android Auto, Bluetooth only, and for a lot of car buyers, that is a no-go nowadays. And that indeed also, just like Tesla, also Tesla is losing customers because they're not offering Apple CarPlay or Android Auto. There has recently been a survey actually that for over 80% of car customers, it is an absolute necessity that the car supports Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, otherwise they won't buy it. Well, besides all the digital stuff, once again, the interface as for, you know, the haptic and so on is really nice. Also the gear selector here, it really feels very nicely put together when you move it. Side is the P button, and here on the other side, this is like a hotkey for the driving modes and hazard lights, and then the door lock. Storage area, a flat one for your smartphone, is also inductive charging pad. Huge underneath space of this flying console. And there's also no classic glove box. Instead you have this here, you can open it from this side, or also then of course from this side. Then you have USB-A charger and another USB-C charger, and yeah, quite some space underneath. And here for the armrest box, there is a safe box mode, and then you, for example, can enter this gesture password. And then actually the center box is sealed, and you can only open it when you go back to the storage box mode, and then you have to repeat it, and then it is opened again. Well, NOMI is always having fun. Rear seating area, and once again, take a look here at the panel gaps, very well aligned. And then when I just move my hand on the inside, seeing that, it comes a little bit towards me. It's a nice solution. And even though when I slam it, what a great sound also for the rear door. And by the way, also the soft close here is available for the rear door. And then let's take a look here at the rear doors from the inside. Also the nice, let's say, microfiber neoprene-like texture here on the top part. Beautiful. Then again, this wood. And here once again, so this is, by the way, the window lever, and it has even a clicking sound, so they have a nice mix of haptics and other things. Oh, there again, oh, I need to peel off some more foil. And here, the first look at the rear area. It looks kind of spacious. Will it also be the case? Soon more to that. And once again, the design is really clean, and the panoramic roof, you can see here, it is split, you know, 1 and 2, and this also should leave a lot of headroom. Not sure about you, but isn't it kind of like rewarding or satisfying seeing that peel here coming off? Here we go. Oh, there we go. Now, ta-da! Here we go with the rear seating area. Well, you can see here, when the seat is set to my driving position, I've a lot of legroom. And that's the thing about the Chinese built vehicles. They pay more attention to legroom in the rear than to the trunk length actually, which you can soon see. This is actually strategy. You might also know that when the Europeans, the Germans, they sell their sedans in China, they usually sell it as L, as the long version. Even an A4, Audi A4 for example, is an A4L there, because they want more legroom here in the rear. Very interesting. Wow, that's acres of space in the legroom. For my feet, the seat would need to be put a little bit higher though. As for the headroom, well, it gets close. I still have some headroom when I lean backwards or when I lean my head against the head restraint, and it gets really close, but it works for tall adults indeed. However, you can see here the inclination of the rear bench is more comfortable than the Mercedes EQS, I would say. But in general, the seating position here could be better. As for the rear bench, it's a little bit short. I mean, you can see here how, you know, like how my knees are bent. In the middle part, you can also very well sit. It's quite soft, actually softer than most other vehicles. headroom also does work. USB-C charger, and then you also have your own climate controls here in the rear, for example. It's actually quite fancy. Other than that, we have ISOFIX at the outside seats, and then we have here the middle console with a nice wood, once again, USB-C charger, and you can also open these cup holders here in the front. For the trunk opening here, you press and hold the key fob, then it does open, and well, you see it is not a hatch style, not a fastback opening. I would have wished for that. It is this separate trunk, therefore the opening is limited. It's actually quite okay though. So you see here a backpack fits in a vertical way. Taking a closer look here, the length is 1.40 meters. The width is also 1.40 meters. So these are actually quite good dimensions. A sedan of that size could, however, have a little longer trunk. And here the height is 45 centimeters or 18 inches. The cable has to be flying around right here because underneath this cover is hardly any reasonable space. And you can see here, there's only a ski hatch to reach through the cabin. You cannot fold this here. By the way, that would be very important to me. There is still a normal button here underneath to open the trunk as well. Welcome to Thomas's Driving Lounge, and you know what this sign means here. And this one, German Autobahn, the German motorway. Well, this is where this car has to face the test. Let's put it here to the Sport Plus mode, where we can have the fastest acceleration. This air suspension here already delivers a very comfortable ride indeed. Now it gets a little bit stiffer, also lowers the riding height. It also tests assistance systems and so on. And now we'll do a flying start from 40 kilometers an hour. That's very slow on this and let's go. 130, 150, 160. Woo! That went quick, so super quick. The steering wheel got a little bit light, so didn't have the best controlled feeling, but still was reasonably quick, and also a nice distribution to all the four wheels. Definitely a little bit rear wheel bias. And let's see, steering here is now quite stiff actually. If we compare it with the comfort mode, yeah, then it gets lighter. So sport definitely better for higher speeds, because now when it's a little bit lighter, it's comfortable but doesn't give you the best feeling then indeed. On the left side of the steering wheel,
Pilot is on.
Yes, pilot is on, NOMI. I heard that.
Please control the steering.
Okay, so I started off with saying NOMI is a very interesting and cool feature, but now after experiencing that, I rather say that, well, I don't want some robot kid telling me what to do while driving, do you? So,
Highlight is on.
yeah, that's what I mean. So, I guess, and that's what you can do actually. Yeah, and that's the thing here always with this interface. It's the same with Tesla. Sometimes you do need to do things while driving. For example, deactivating NOMI. Goodbye, NOMI. Now you're turned off. Well, still showing me the eyes though. Yeah, but let's see if NOMI knows.
Highlight is on.
The hell? Sort of turned NOMI off. Laughed too early. So, I mean, yeah, and that's the thing, you know. So there's something wrong, and then
Highlight is on.
okay, so I won't use the cruise control. So yeah, that's the thing about this interface. Yeah, about that. Here, changing lanes. Wow, suspension is really nice. That was changing lanes in comfort mode. Let's do it in Sport Plus again. Let's see about that. Yeah, it's more the feeling from the steering wheel that changes. That's the biggest difference actually. So, but that feels very, very nice. So suspension does give you comfort and also sporty driving. Noise insulation at the speeds, you know, like 120 kilometers an hour was our main speed. Then here, that's like 70 miles an hour. It was also nicely done. So actually, from all like the hard facts, so to speak, that is really cool. Yeah, and software-wise, we have seen a lot of great solutions, but we also see that when it comes to some concise things, then it can also be, irritating. And I'm still, I shouldn't do it while driving, and should maybe stand still, and then maybe I can ask NOMI to shut up. Hey, NOMI.
I am here.
Can you shut up?
Muted.
Oh. That's a nice idea.
Highlight is on.
Sorry about that. Yeah. Sudden rage burst. So let me repeat that. Why would I mute the system and then I click something?
Highlight is on. Please control the steering.
Yeah. Okay. That's the last time I will use the cruise control for now. Let's focus on driving. Here now in that Autobahn corner, let's see which driving mode I'm in. Sport Plus mode. Yeah, it does lean somewhat in, so it's not super sporty, but actually quite nice. I think they found a good compromise for that. So I'm really, really fan of that suspension here. It's also fun to drive. So it is a big and heavy vehicle, definitely, but we got a lot of fun. Now 80 to 120. Oh, plop, that's it already. So that went really quick as well. Wow. So driving hardware-wise is really, really nice, awesome. And also silent, as I said. Well, as for the rest of the assistance systems, let's see. Oh, unlimited speed, let's go. Woo! And goodbye, everyone. That's German Autobahn pure now, and top speed reaching, plop, 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour, exactly, and that's the top speed. Now we do hear some wind noises. Let's see when they disappear. Here at 170 kilometers an hour, so that's like 100 miles an hour, something like that. So really good at high speeds. Just at the top speed, there is where strange wind noises do appear. But the car is still very good in control here, also at higher speeds. So can they keep up hardware-wise, riding-wise, from the chassis feel and so on, with the European manufacturers, especially with the German premium manufacturers, from the driving feel? I would say, from that first impression, yeah, they can mainly, So, yeah, maybe the Germans add some more sportiness to it, but this one, yeah, it feels really good, definitely. And in the past I would have said, okay, they are more playful in the user interface and so on, and the Germans are easier to control while driving, but we have seen a lot of mishaps now in user interface in recent German cars. Audi is still quite conservative. BMW just lost the climate control, otherwise good. Mercedes does more playing around now with Chinese customers in focus as well, that they have more things moved into the infotainment system. But actually I started this review with saying like, oh, NOMI is really an innovative feature and like a unique, cool thing about this car. Now I have to say, while driving it, it's one of the worst things, and maybe I can turn... Hey, NOMI.
Hello.
Switch off completely.
Okay, bye.
Okay, let's try it again.
Highlight is on.
No! I have to speed up the vehicle as an excuse to that. Oh my goodness. Yeah. And actually this story here in this driving part is the story about modern cars and about infotainment and about unnecessary tech stuff, Yes, we want progress. We want cool route planning and so on, great navigation. nice handy tech features, voice control, which makes our life easier. Yeah, but the thing is, we want things that make our life easier and not something that tells me over and over again, pilot is on, I'm the robot kid. After I have disabled it 5 times, you know? Oh, gosh. Yeah, that's a problem, but I must say, the drive here, I mean, the German Autobahn test here, driving-wise, really mastered very well already. What about the consumption? So what did it do when I was driving faster here now? So the, let's see, the consumption is there. So it did go up now. So before we could score some 20 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. So yeah, this more like some 30 kilowatt hours on 100 miles approximately. So we can indeed score some 500 kilometers or 300 miles of real world range. Yes, while driving fast now, consumption did go up to about 25 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. So of course that does cost more. But the thing is, you know, with aerodynamics, they really play a major role on the Autobahn, on motorway. It's like 1/3 of the consumption usually, and you know, let's accelerate out of the corner. Oh, you hear that? Some tire squeaking. The rear doesn't come around that much, so it does push you a little bit over the front, as for understeering and so on. Pretty interesting, definitely. Yeah, back to the consumption. So on the motorway, it's like 2/3 what counts for the aerodynamics, and that's where the car is, you know, playing out all the cards. So this can indeed be a good vehicle for. Aren't they driving? Is it like a traffic light here? For like also long EV motorway hauls, and so this is yeah, very very good thing to notice. Definitely, the efficiency seems really be on spot. As for the different driving modes and recuperation, are they parking here or what is going on? It's not. Must have been a traffic light, right? It's quite unusual that they're indeed. So usually there are hardly traffic lights when going on the motorway. This doesn't happen too often. So the recuperation differs a little bit per driving mode, and we can also go to this custom mode as I had shown to you earlier. And let's try it around. Yeah, acceleration good, and then regenerative braking. Let's start with very low. NOMI is also doing something on. Hey NOMI.
Hello.
Disable completely.
Okay, bye.
I don't believe that. So very low, let's see, throttle, off the brakes, nothing is happening. Now low, throttle, off the throttle, sorry, off the throttle, hardly feel anything. Standard, throttle, off the throttle. So here it also doesn't change too much actually. So they don't seem to have a philosophy of hard regenerative braking. So this is not a one pedal drive thing, not at all. That's interesting, as if it wouldn't really, you know, react. Now from 60 kilometers an hour, let's accelerate. I need to watch it first, safety first. From 70 kilometers an hour, let's go. 130, 150. Strange. I mean, I set the acceleration to 3.8, but it didn't feel that sporty as in Sport Plus. I don't know. Let's see. We can accelerate out even further. Yeah, it's definitely more spontaneous. Not sure if it almost seems like the custom mode would be a little bit broken or something. I don't know, but yeah, here acceleration really nice, and also the stability here at high speeds is very, very nicely done. Wow. Yeah, this slices through the air. That's how it's feeling, you know. Okay, yes, I found it. It's called It's called NOMI Pilot, and if you deactivate that, you just get the Tesla sound when the Drive Pilot is active. Yeah, and how good is it actually? So here, Let's see. Lane is being kept. It does go a little bit back and forth, just a little bit. See, so far so good. And what about lane change? Here we go, automated lane change. Yeah, that is also well done. Let's see, back with the lane change. Of course, I supervise everything. There we go, now speed is being reduced. So when we are in that mode, actually it works quite well. You know, just at the point where you have transitions, you know, when you activate and deactivate them, sometimes the transition seems a little bit harsh, but overall, I think it's quite okay yet, as long as you're not like in the...
over the speed limit.
Really? Yeah. Okay. Okay, I did find a solution now to turn this pilot is on thing, but obviously there's still something left. So yes, you can deactivate some of the NOMI functions, but of it, I was just thinking if I can just grab it out there. Okay, yeah, but at least we solved some of the problems. You know, when you did not discover a feature of the car firsthand, I mean, sometimes for us the thing is, do we rather experience the car as the customer would do it firsthand, or like things like these, you know, do you really plan them through? And sometimes I feel like experiencing the car is a better, more authentic way to do it. And I also thought about, like, you know, maybe I should edit it out when I was searching for that NOMI thing, but I think it really stood for the user interface here. That, I mean, things will solve over time, some things, yes, definitely. But in a way, it stays that digital and also, in a way, also annoyingly playful, you know what I mean? So that is definitely one catch to me, and there will always be moments where stuff like this does happen. Well, and what about some city driving for important questions like, when I use Sport Plus mode at the traffic light?
You are over the speed limit.
I wasn't. Maybe just like 0.3 seconds and just 1 or 2 kilometers. But I was really taking care. It was like a 0 to 50 and then down again. Of course, it doesn't make any sense. That was just for fun purpose. I really checked that there was no one. So now I stay in the comfort mode. But yeah, you can have really some tire squeaking there. Very interesting. Yeah, other than that, it is once again very silent in here. You have also some air ionization, for example, that the air stays fresh inside the city, for example. And it actually doesn't feel too bulky or something. You know, these electric vehicles, they always have a low center of gravity because the battery pack is in the bottom of the vehicle, and therefore they feel still quite agile, even though they are large and heavy or something. And as for the energy consumption, so last 100 kilometers, so here the average, and we had some slow drive. I was also like on like the city motorway where there's a lot of traffic and so on, but you can like run steadily, lower speeds, good for consumption. But we also had high-speed track. And still here, once again, at kind of like the figure confirmed, 20 kilowatt hours on 100 kilometers. So like 32 kilowatt hours on 100 miles. So indeed, we can confirm this 500 kilometers or 300 miles of range. This car is really extremely efficient. And it is a very surprising result for today, you know, because I came here and expecting, okay, like the Europeans, especially like the Germans, they still need more in hardware, driving wise and so on. But then there are like software innovations from Chinese companies and so on, and they may be leading the software. And I think the thing is, yeah, they really caught up hardware wise and it drives very well. And the software, I mean, it's like Tesla, you know, and it can do a lot of things, and it is great, and in a way ahead of the Germans as well. But when you start driving the vehicle and the combination of driving and using the software and the user interface, it starts to get a little bit annoying, and you see that they wanted to do too much, that they want to be too playful, and that they did already think more in autonomous driving and not as much driver focused. So, and from a driver focused perspective, that's still what we do here on this channel and what I'm also about. I want to drive, you know. Yeah, maybe sometimes when in like traffic situations, it can be good when you also have autonomous features or something. But basically, we want to drive the vehicles, and we want to have simple, good user interfaces. And this is, yeah, at some point a little bit too complicated or a little bit too playful. I also realized it when I was watching, I mean, this NOMI thing, even if there are no sounds, it always changes in the visualization, even while driving, even at higher speeds. And yeah, that's just something distracting, you know, and getting away from the real focus of driving. Is it a buy, yes or no? Well, great hardware definitely, such a great drive, and also interesting software solutions, great build quality indeed. So they have done a lot of things really extremely well with this vehicle. But there are 4 things that are actually, with this model, not okay with me, and that might lead to a conclusion of they have a very promising future, but not with this very model yet. Animal skin seats only, no Apple CarPlay or Android Auto, not a good fast charging capability, and no, the battery swap is no alternative to that, and this distracting NOMI interface, which is a little bit over the top. And these 4 factors, at this moment, I would say no buy. And maybe the thing also, if you want to buy a car and own it, because they don't offer that in Europe, you have to go for a subscription model. So those 4 or maybe 5 factors at the moment, rather I would say no. But we've seen a lot of super interesting and very well made features that we can say, does this brand have a future in Europe? And in that case, I have to say, yeah, they sure can. So, and what about the competitors? Mercedes EQS, tune in there, or the Lucid Air.